The book How to Find Inner Peace: 5 Simple Practices to Enjoy Happiness and Freedom. What can you expect from this short book? The practices within this book have the potential to make a phenomenal difference to your life. You have been doing rituals and practices both physically and within your mind practically all your life. These practices are your habits. So, let's just spice these habits up a little. I am not talking about changing you as a person. Changing everything about your daily routine, ditching your friends, disowning certain family members, or turning you into a Zen master. I don't believe that kind of advice is helpful or practical, although it might give you some ideas. The internet is full of useful advice like ditching anybody negative in your life. Sometimes this can be done. However, sometimes the negative people might be our children, or a good friend we don't want to turn our backs on when they are struggling with something. So, I believe you need to create your own inner peace without trying to change your external circumstances. When we create our own inner peace, nobody can take it away from us. You can enjoy it even when you are around others that do not have the skill and wisdom to remain calm when the fire is burning. This is what these practices help you to create. Each practice builds on the previous one, so you can incorporate them all without too much disruption to all the other brilliant habits you have. Freeing yourself from stress, anxiety, and any frustration is about learning to deal with what happens in a skillful, wise, and intuitive way. The basic premise is that we cannot change what happens outside of us, so we learn a new perspective which changes the way we respond instead of our habitual reactions. Here we go again, respond and don't react. Yep, if you have already mastered it, then don't bother reading the book anymore. I would hate to waste your time. I'm just being honest. With that said, I know Zen Masters has daily practices in place because out of the 90 billion humans that have passed on and are alive today, there isn't anybody that has truly mastered it, including Siddhartha Gautama, who we know as the Buddha. So, these practices are all about creating your inner peace by learning to accept what is arising in any situation without judgment and responding skillfully rather than just reacting. This will be repeated numerous times in one form or another during this book. We learn in 2 ways: emotional impact and repetition. I don't have the ability to jump out of the screen, slap you around the face and shout the lessons, so I am going to rely on repetition. First, the old or current way. Something happens that makes us mad, brings back feelings of fear, anxiety and stress. We do not like these feelings and our body goes into an automatic reaction based on our past experiences. Think of what psychologists say: fight, flight, freeze, and faint. After the initial reaction, the information is sent to our subconscious mind, then all hell breaks loose. We then go through the whole process of trying to change the situation, manipulate the situation, and when we realize it's impossible, we get angry and frustrated. We then spread our anger to anybody that will listen to reinforce that anger even more. We want to fuel the fire, justify how we are feeling. Just like we tell everybody how that nasty, ignorant, horrible, stupid, mass-murdering driver pulled out in front of us. How dare they? They must have deliberately set out that morning to intercept my driving to ruin my day. We then make this normally innocent mistake into something terrible, highly annoying, and often very much worse than the original event. The subconscious mind loves it, stores it, and waits for the next time. Sometimes we stay mad for days. And this becomes a pattern, the new way. Something happens that makes us mad, brings back feelings of fear, anxiety, and stress we immediately do not like. These feelings and our body goes into automatic reaction based on our past experiences. Yes, the initial reaction will almost always be the same. It is what you do from this point on that makes the difference. This time, you recognize the feelings of anger and you may ask yourself a question, something like, why am I angry? After the initial reaction of blaming anything and everything else, you then go deeper, and you will almost always come up with the same answer. You're angry because you care. Yes, anybody that's ever been angry about anything is that way because they care, including you. Disagree? Take a moment and think back to a time in your life when you were angry with someone about a situation. Feel back into that time and imagine me asking you, what is it you care about here? I would stake my reputation that it's because deep down, below the anger, You care. Children coming home late or running off out of sight in the park. A slightly harder one, someone cutting in front of you in a queue at a shopping mall. If you think deep enough, you will find where you care. So, the new way is to recognize how we are feeling and create a small gap between what is arising and how we respond compassionately. We start to live from our heart rather than the story in our minds. We go from blaming and judging to pausing and understanding. No more fuel for the angry fire. You become the person that holds everything together. That is where you find your real freedom, control, and your inner peace. The simple practices within this book will give you more energy, clearer thinking, better understanding, and create that gap for you to be the wisest possible version of yourself. You will be the one that creates the calm in the storm. A little cliché, however, it's true. Disclaimer: because I am not a mind reader, clairvoyant, or psychic, I cannot predict everything that is going to happen to you from this day on. Otherwise, I could write a book that advises you for every situation. Instead, you need practices that give you the wisdom to be enlightened when the situation arises. Introduction: I'm Stephen Webb, and first I want to thank you for downloading my ebook. The world certainly needs a little more peace, and by individually finding our inner peace, we are doing our bit. You can find out more about me on my website stephenwebb.com, so I will be quite brief here. My life has been plagued with adversity of one kind or another. My parents went through quite a messy divorce when I was 7, and shortly after that we found ourselves homeless, moving several times, and living in a caravan. My granddad committed suicide when I was 12, which was particularly difficult for me to deal with because I was close to him. The normal teenage stuff followed until 17, when I attempted suicide. Then on September 1st, 1991, my life changed forever. I went swimming with a few friends in the evening, and in the typical showing-off teenager way I decided to dive off the wall, which I had done many times before. I hit the bottom of the pool with the top of my head, and instantly knew something was seriously wrong. I broke my neck, and this left me severely paralyzed from the chest down with limited arm function and no hand movement. In the years between then and now, I've also been cheated on, lost my business, and gone bankrupt, just to add to the roller coaster ride. 6 years ago, I hit rock bottom. I felt nothing and thought my life was completely over. I didn't even have the will to get out of bed in the morning. If I didn't have 24-hour carers, I don't think I would have. I found myself alone after what I thought was the perfect relationship had ended out of nowhere. Over the coming weeks, my sadness turned to confusion and anger. I couldn't stop thinking, I couldn't sleep, and my life was spiraling out of control. At that point, I had to find my own inner peace. I had to do something about my life. These 5 secret practices you need for inner peace are some of what I learned then and have put into practice every day since. I love my life. Is it perfect? Far from it. Have I got everything I want? Absolutely not. But I do have calmness, serenity, and peace no matter whether I'm doing something I love doing or just getting on with daily tasks I don't really want to do. Most importantly, these practices have given me the ability to stay calm and in control when things are going wrong or I find myself triggered by others. I teach these practices to people all over the world so they can live peacefully and break the old habits that lead to so much unnecessary suffering, and ultimately to find the happiness and lasting freedom that eludes so many of us. There are several ways I can help you, which include online courses, live shows, YouTube, podcasts, blogs, and private one-on-one coaching. All of this is available through my website stephenwebb.com. New for 2023, I have put all my meditations together in one place. And in a very modern way, I put them into a podcast, Inner Peace Meditations Podcast. The link can be found on stephenwebb.com/links. What is inner peace? Having inner peace means that you live from your heart instead of the constant story in your mind. Your mind is a constant source of information, which is your story. It's made up of all your opinions, beliefs, and the experiences you've had since even before you were born. You may be frightened of spiders. You got this from somewhere. This is the perfect example of the story within your subconscious mind, because you may or may not know why you have this fear. When you live from your heart and realize your thinking is just information, you start to live below all this mental chatter. Instead of constantly jumping into your habitual reaction, which often fuels an already burning fire, you respond with wisdom. You gain control over your emotions and your thoughts, which reduces anxiety, depression, stress, and feelings of being overwhelmed. And ultimately, you have control of any situation. How would your life be different if you had this kind of control? Whether it's anxiety, depression, stress, or being overwhelmed, they all result from the feeling of no control. We very often treat the symptoms of these temporary conditions instead of getting to the root cause. This is what these practices will enable you to do. In return, this gives you freedom from your emotions and your thinking. You live from a place of calmness within, which gives you the wise ability to not deny what is happening but to deal with it skillfully. By slowing down, you create a small gap and see things for what they are instead of through this illusion of how you believe they should be. This gap gives you more perspectives, a bigger view instead of the narrow-minded, ignorant, and opinionated way you used to see things. It's universal. We all must be ignorant before we can become wise. And fortunately, most people never grow out of their adolescent thinking. You're different. I know that because you're reading this. You will listen more and understand more, which leads to kindness and compassion. You've heard the phrase, you get what you give. Well, you will learn to give love without expectation. And that's exactly what you will get back. How does that sound? There is one last thing I would like to address regarding inner peace. Yes, it is about living with gratitude for what we already have. However, that does not mean we cannot want more in life. It is not about becoming a zombie, being completely content, and living blissfully in a life that we did not desire as children. As children, we wanted more. There is no reason why we cannot have that. You can be happy with everything you have right now and desire more. This comes down to being honest, and unless you learn to be honest about wanting more and the situation you are in, it is unlikely you will ever catch the happiness you are seeking. Here's the honest part. I want millions of people to download this book and find their inner peace. I want to be famous, speak to thousands of people, make a difference in their lives. I want to build my own house, adapt it fully to make my life more comfortable. I want to have money, lots of money. We live in a society where money makes life more comfortable. It means I can help more people, I can reach more people, and in return it improves the world and my life. But I'm already happy, and that's why I know I will be happy all the way along the journey. So inner peace means responding wisely when things go wrong, living with gratitude while still having desires. Ultimately, it is about taking control of our lives, fantasies, emotions, thoughts, and our story. It's time you become the hero of your story. Meditation is meeting eternity in the present moment. It is resolving every problem as it comes. It is resolving every tension as it creeps in. It is facing the challenges of life in a non-fearful way. By Vimala Thakur. Where does meditation fit into inner peace? To have inner peace, one of the first things we need to do is slow down. The best way I can describe meditation and how it relates to inner peace is to compare you to an athlete. An athlete needs to build strength, endurance, and discipline if they want any kind of success when it comes to performing. All this is done before the big event. They train for weeks, months, years for the moment in which they must compete. Meditation is that training. As I mentioned in the introduction, a large part of inner peace is being able to respond rather than react. To have that calmness, wisdom, and clarity when everything seems to be going wrong. Normally, in situations when we are triggered, we immediately jump to a habitual reaction, which then immediately turns to shame, guilt, anger, or fear, and quite often makes the situation worse. Meditation gives us the ability and the strength needed to break those habits and respond with wisdom so we don't regret our automatic reaction later, after we have calmed down. Remember, inner peace is about making our daily lives better. It is not about finding enlightenment or everlasting bliss. Inside the noise of our constant thinking, we end up living in an illusion that is only relatively true to ourselves. Below all this noise and ego confusion, there is a deep truth, which is called emptiness in Buddhism. It is the only real truth, and meditation will allow you to experience it. Is meditation essential? Absolutely, yes. I don't think I can make it any clearer than that. If you are not interested in meditating at least 10 minutes every day, then do not read any further, because although each one of these 5 secrets will enhance your life, nothing would do it as much as meditation. What is meditation? There are hundreds and hundreds of books that will go into great detail about what meditation is and what meditation is not. It is true that there are several different types of meditation, and each one has benefits depending on what we are going through in life. The main style of meditation I would recommend you start practicing is focus, concentration meditation. This is where we pick one of our senses and we focus on it for a certain amount of time. The most common is to focus on the feel of your breath. Become aware that you are breathing in and you are breathing out. How does it feel on your nose, the air leaving your mouth, and what does it feel like to expand your chest and your lower abdomen? Meditation is so simple that people often make it complicated. They think surely it is more complicated than this. I must be doing it wrong, but it is not complicated at all. It is sitting down in a comfortable position and choosing something to completely concentrate on. Here is a practice to get you started. What is the best way to start meditation practice? 1. Get comfortable. Any sitting position will be fine. 2. Extend your arms above your head. Take a deep breath. 3. As you breathe out, relax your arms and shoulders down next to you and place your hands on your thighs. 4. On the next breath, count 1 on the in-breath, 2 on the exhale, then 3 on the next inhale, 4 on the exhale, 5. Continue until you get to 10. 6. If you lose count or your mind wanders, just start again at 1. 7. Do this for 5 minutes. 8. Then just sit for a further 5 minutes, relaxing and being aware of what's going on around you. 9. Listen to the sounds and be aware of your emotions and thoughts coming and going, but try not to get caught up in them. That is a simple meditation practice which can be done for any length of time. It will have a positive effect, and we will build and improve on it over the 5 practices. It does not need to be complicated. It's about being present within what is happening in the present moment. That is why we focus on the breath. Do this every morning for at least 10 minutes. It will also really help if you can do it for 5 minutes in the afternoon and again just before going to bed. Sleeping. Where does sleep fit into inner peace? If you want to live life to the full, live up to the best of your potential and enjoy every moment with inner peace, you need to be awake. A good sleeping practice is almost as important as meditation. Therefore, I put sleeping as number 2, because not having a good sleeping practice will inhibit your ability to receive the full potential of what meditation can bring to your life. In short, you will probably fall asleep after a few minutes of trying meditation. Why is sleep so important? Creates a healthy brain, repairs your body, prepares you for the next day, organizes information and experiences, creates new pathways and habits, helps you to learn more efficiently, helps you to make better decisions, keeps your emotions in balance. Without sleep, find it hard to make decisions, inadequate problem solving. Focus and concentration is significantly reduced. Reduced your physical health. Increased stress, increased risk of heart disease, kidney disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, and strokes. Moderate sleep deprivation reduces cognitive ability to drive in a similar way to alcohol. There are studies to suggest a lack of sleep increases obesity, as sleep maintains your hormones so you know when you are hungry and full. Reduces your performance and leads to safety issues. Both lists could go on and on. Sources are available to back up any of these claims. If you need further evidence, contact me through my website, and I will send you a list of links. There is no doubting the benefits of sleep. Not only does it make you feel happier when you wake up naturally, it also means you will get along with friends and family better and tackle life's challenges in a more productive way. Sleep is a skill. Everybody can learn how to do it. I spent most of my life either trying to burn the candle at both ends or getting very frustrated by banging my head against the pillow trying to force myself to sleep. I had to learn how to go to sleep. Here is what you need to do. 1. Create the perfect cave. Because humans have been sleeping in cold and dark caves for thousands of years before comfortable warm heated houses. A. Your bedroom needs to be nice and cool, with the window open and flowing fresh air. B. You are better off snuggling under the duvet while your head and face feel the cold. C. If necessary, get a fan, hopefully with a remote so you can turn it off early in the morning. D. It needs to be dark. Cover up all those LEDs and get blackout curtains. 2. Prepare for bed. Do not consume any stimulants such as alcohol or coffee, or heavy meals. B. If you are hungry, have a snack a minimum of 45 minutes before going to bed. Avoid laptops, iPads, and mobile phones 30 minutes before bedtime. D. Leading up to this time, set the night mode on your iPad or other devices so that blue fluorescent LEDs are not stimulating your eyes. Set your smart devices to Do Not Disturb. F. Read a book instead of watching TV. G. Exercise a minimum of 60 minutes before bed. H. Do not go to bed until it is time to sleep. Don't lie and read in bed. Have a pen and piece of paper next to the bed. Anything that you need to do or is playing on your mind, just jot it down. Then your mind thinks you've dealt with it and can move on. 3. Get a routine. Ideally, you need a minimum of 7 hours. This varies depending on your age. However, I'm guessing you are not an infant, so 7 hours would be an optimum amount of time. B. This is easier than you think. Going to sleep at 11 p.m. and getting 7 hours of sleep means waking up at 6 a.m. Yes, start to enjoy the mornings. C. Keep the routine. And yes, I mean at weekends too. D. Although there are situations where you can enjoy a lie in bed. E. Avoid napping. Although sometimes it is needed, it should only be a power nap for a maximum of 20 minutes. Here is a link to a sleep meditation. It is 60 minutes long and has a lot of fancy binaural sounds and a guide to help you fall asleep. Remember, sleep is a skill. It is time you learn how to do it rather than going to bed and hoping for the best. Mindfulness. James Barrs said mindfulness is simply being aware of what is happening right now without wishing it were different. Enjoying the pleasant without holding on when it changes, which it will. Being with the unpleasant without fearing it will always be this way, which it won't. Where does mindfulness fit in with inner peace? As we have already established, a large part of inner peace is being able to respond from a place of calmness in situations when we might otherwise fall back on our habits and say something or do something rash that could make things worse. Mindfulness is about living in the present moment, being aware of what's happening without judging or labeling it in a positive or negative way. When we allow things to arise and be exactly what they are, we no longer have the frustration that comes from trying to change something. The present moment becomes exactly what it is, and we don't have to be angry because it doesn't fit perfectly into the story we created of what it should be. Mindfulness is also about not attaching to things in the present moment. Everything is temporary, whether it be good times or tougher times. One thing is guaranteed: they won't last. They will inevitably fade away in a similar manner to which they arose. Being completely aware in a mindful way stops us grabbing or pushing away the present moment. We no longer have to cling on to it just in case it disappears, and equally we no longer have to deny the situation just because we do not like it. You cannot change or do anything about the present moment. You only have an influence on what happens next. This means we can either add more fuel to the fire, ignore it and move on, or add compassion. Of course, this does not mean we should never get angry. If there is something we deeply care about, of course we should feel angry about it. It is how we deal with our anger that matters, and very often becoming extremely angry instead of using skillful, thoughtful wisdom and handling the situation, we make things considerably worse. Very often our reaction is so quick that we never even realize that there was a choice. This is where meditation, mindfulness, and daily practice will build new neural pathways so you have that brief gap in which to make a healthy decision, make a choice, rather than just simply reacting like you have in the past. Being mindful gives you the ability to see the magic in the seemingly normal. There are times when I wish I was more mindful in the past, when I could walk, shower myself, do the cleaning and drive to work, before I become severely disabled at the age of 19. The truth is, I took it all for granted. I never once thought that getting out of bed and going through my morning routine would be the way it is today. I'm not saying you should live your life as if something bad is going to happen. On the contrary, I'm saying we should all live appreciating with gratitude exactly what We have already. We will move on to gratitude in a moment. Becoming more mindful and aware and living in the present moment automatically cultivates an appreciation for life as it is. This reduces depression, anxiety, and even improves our health. Very often depression is living in the past and not wanting to be where we are currently in life. It's that excessive need to change the present moment. When you accept the present moment for exactly what it is, depression fades away. Anxiety is being worried about the future, what will happen next, and often making up worst-case scenarios in our heads to fret over. Bringing our focus back to the present moment stops us living in a future story, which of course may or not come to pass. Very often it turns out nowhere near as bad as we imagine. When you start to live from the heart, in a higher state of awareness and below all the noise, you will have a natural tranquility about your life. You will have clear thought, see things as they are, and lose that frustration of trying to change the present moment. Here is a mindfulness exercise. 1. Prepare your favorite beverage. For me, that would be a nice strong cup of English tea. It can be water, coffee, a pint of beer, or a glass of wine. It doesn't matter what. 2. Find a comfortable place where you will not be disturbed for 10 to 20 minutes. 3. Ground yourself with counting breaths for approximately 1 minute, as described in the meditation above. 4. Now, mindfully become aware of all the sounds around you. You will notice how much you constantly filter out information when you are not focusing. 5. Now take notice of what feelings are rising within, but don't go with them. Just label them. Maybe you're feeling relaxed, excited, lonely, or maybe you're feeling nothing. 6. Now start to enjoy your drink. 7. Look at the color. Appreciate the glass or cup that is holding the drink. 8. Appreciate the kettle if you are having a warm drink, or perhaps the fridge if it is a beer in your hand. 9. Then take a sip. Appreciate all the different flavors by seeing how many different things you can taste. 10. Put down the cup or glass, return to the noise around you, and appreciate the gap between sips. Here is a simple guided mindfulness meditation. Do this for the duration of the drink, and you'll find out so much more about the drink, what goes into it, and how if one of those parts did not work flawlessly, you would not be appreciating it in that moment. Imagine if the kettle did not work, the fridge broke, or you did not have a cup or glass available. These are things we take for granted, just like we take our hearing for granted by thinking we hear everything when really, we are only hearing what our subconscious mind decides to highlight for us. You can do this with eating, walking, smoking, listening to music, reading, watching TV or a movie. Bring yourself down into the moment and focus thankfully on your ability to enjoy it. This is being mindful, appreciating with a deep gratitude the depths and lengths that go into what we take for granted. Gratitude turns what we have into enough, and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos into order, confusion into clarity. It makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. By Melody Beattie. Where does gratitude fit in with inner peace? We spend so much time grasping anything that will give us that little high and makes us feel good temporarily. When I was 7 years old, I was learning to ride a two-wheeled bike by pushing it up a small slope, then sitting and freewheeling down. I did this all weekend while I was on my grandparents' farm. That weekend I couldn't think of anything else. I knew that when I could ride the bike properly, my life would be complete. Whether it is by focusing on something new, rekindling something from the past, or hoping something good is going to happen in the future, we overlook and take for granted what we already have. Relationships, belongings, and achieving goals all work in a similar way. Living with gratitude, and more importantly, feeling the gratitude for what you already have, ranging from the big items like your home right down to your toothbrush, gives you a sense of real appreciation. A feeling of contentment, and dare I say it, gratitude for all the things that make your life what it is today. Here are a few things that we take for granted. The car starting in the morning. A pair of socks and shoes that do not hurt our feet. The fridge working 24 hours a day to keep our milk fresh. Our bed that keeps us comfortable and supported in safety overnight. The chair or the seat we sit on. Our eyes for seeing magnificent colors, variations, and depth. Our nose, mouth, ears, and cheeks for being great communicators as well as giving us a complete picture of the outside world. Every atom in our body that works tirelessly 24 hours a day to do its best to keep us healthy, even when we don't make healthy choices. You see, this list could go on for hundreds of pages and in fairness probably never stop, because the deeper we go down into gratitude, the more we see, the more we feel, and the more we appreciate what we have. Instead of getting angry the one day the car does not work properly, the kettle doesn't boil the water, or the toaster misses the top 2 inches of the toast, we should really have an appreciation for when these things just work. When you are stuck in a traffic jam, you can be grateful for that little pause rather than frustrated, because there is nothing you can do about it. And you never know, perhaps if you were not stuck in the traffic jam, something worse could have happened. You can jump up and down, wish things were different, and curse the slow driver in front of you all you like. But you cannot change it. You can either be angry and frustrated, or you can be accepting and calm. The slow driver is still in front of you either way. How can you practice gratitude? Every morning as you wake up, think of 3 things that you are grateful for. Spend a couple of minutes minimum feeling and appreciating each one. Mix it up between the large and the small things. Change the list daily. Then think of 3 people. 1 you love deeply, 1 you are indifferent to, and finally 1 that you find difficult. Bring each one into your heart, wish them well, wish them love, and appreciate them being in your life. Yes, even the difficult ones. They are in our life for a reason, and that reason may be to teach us something or help us grow. Now give love to yourself. Imagine a pillar of light, of pure white light that resembles love, penetrating through the top of your head and radiating this unconditional, non-judgmental love throughout your body. Finally, imagine this light exiting your body and shining wherever it is needed. Here is a nice morning meditation with a gratitude practice. Non-attachment. The guest house. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Jalaluddin Rumi. Translation by Coleman Barks. Where does non-attachment come into inner peace? Let's talk about the biggest attachment of all, our attachment to happiness. From a very young age we get a very warped view of what happiness is. We get gifts, toys, ice creams, clothes, cuddles, and all kinds of things that give us a little bit of temporary happiness. This sets a trend for life. We spend so much time chasing happiness, and in reality, we don't really know what's going to make us happy. Buying a new car, moving into a new property, or starting a new relationship will result in feeling great until it becomes the norm. Then we start looking for the next thing that's going to make us happy. Redecorating the house, buying new things, rekindling the relationship, or moving on to someone new. Even the spiritual journey is plagued with attachments. We get attached to wanting enlightenment, inner peace, and even attached to non-attachment. Yes, desiring a life of non-attachment is also a form of attachment. It is wanting and grasping something more than what we have currently. If I said to you that you have everything you need in your life right now to be completely content and totally happy, you may for a moment start to consider it to be true. But it would only take a few seconds for the mind to disagree and start listing the things that would make your life happier. To attain inner peace, we need to drop all attachments. This does not mean get rid of everything in your life. It does not mean selling every item in your house, living in the forest, and having no desires. You can still have desires, buy new items, and enjoy your spiritual journey by reading books and building knowledge. But to have true inner peace, we need to drop not only attachments to the items outside but also the attachments within. We believe our thinking and our feelings are part of who we are. In reality, they are just even more senses that give us more desires and attachments. When we become non-attached to our thinking, we recognize we have thoughts but we don't cling to them. We allow them to come and go, and over time they become quite amusing. They no longer have to define who we are. Yes, we have beliefs and opinions, but they do not have to be so set in stone that we cannot change our mind, accept that an opinion might be wrong, and free ourselves from this rigidness. Our feelings are similar to our thoughts. Just because they are within our body and they do not come and go quite as fast as our thoughts, it does not mean they have to define who we are. Anxiety, depression, loneliness all come and go. So instead of saying I am depressed, you would say sometimes I feel depressed. With anxiety and loneliness, instead of saying you are anxious or you are lonely, try saying sometimes I feel anxious and sometimes I feel lonely. While we are attached to one thing, we don't have the door open to experience other things. Creating a life of non-attachment means opening up your heart and your mind to whatever may arise, and realizing the temporary nature of everything. There is only one real truth. Everything else in life is just concepts. It is what we make it, based on how we interpret situations as well as objects. Instead of what does this mean to me, a better question would be how can I enjoy or learn from what is going on in the present moment? When we stop taking things personally and stop thinking we are the center of the story, that's when the calmness arrives. The inner peace that you are searching for has always been there all along, buried underneath. We need to slow down and drop below all the thinking, listen to our hearts and become present without attachment. Can you simply sit and listen without judgment and without labeling what is arising? After a little practice, it is very possible. Over time with meditation and mindfulness you can start living from a heart-centered and attached way, which will give you the calmness you're looking for. Practice for building non-attachment. 1. Make yourself comfortable. 2. Focus on your breath for a few minutes by counting, just like in the first meditation. 3. Relax your shoulders and your body on the out-breaths. 4. Now consider something you are attached to. It could be a current desire for an object or perhaps a person or a relationship. 5. Spend a couple of minutes imagining completely that you've got everything you desire. What does it feel like? What does it look like? Make the images clear in your head and view the scenario from all angles. 6. Then ground yourself again by counting your breaths for a couple of minutes. 7. Now spend a couple of minutes imagining that you do not get what you desire. The hope of the new object, relationship or person in your life has all gone. Imagine it is okay, and your life is fine without it. How does that feel? What does your life look like? Again, imagine it clearly as if you were videotaping from all angles. 8. Then return to your breath and repeat the exercise going from having what you want to not having what you want. 9. After 3 or 4 times return to your breath. Rounding it all up, out of the hundreds of books I have read by many world-class teachers and mentors, I have picked these 5 practices because these are the ones that have made the biggest difference in my life, and in the lives of all my students. Of course, there are other practices. Each one of these is just a headline, and for example under meditation there are hundreds of different types of meditation you could do, but these are a fantastic starting point for your journey towards inner peace. Please let me know what you think of this ebook, how your life has changed with putting these practices into your daily habits, and if I can help you with anything. My link email at stephenwebb.com. I am grateful for the time you have spent reading this book. Thank you. I look forward to hearing from you, Stephen.